So, it was brought to my attention that someone who's watching this channel made a micro-budget film. And he asked me to review the film, and he sent me a screener. And I decided to watch it tonight, and I will review it. So, the movie is called Panda Bear It. Now, this is a micro-budget film. For those of you who don't know what a micro-budget film is, basically an example of a micro-budget film is the live-action Aladdin. I'm just kidding, that's not a micro-budget film. This film is really micro-budget, had a budget of $500, so it really takes a courageous person to make a film for $500. So kudos to the filmmaker on that. He has more balls than I do, that's for sure. Also, I know this was a screener that was sent to me. I'm gonna review this film fairly, okay? If I don't like this movie, I'll say I don't like this movie. If I like this movie, I'll say I like this movie. However, I'll tailor my expectations. Like, I'm not going in expecting this to be like a Marvel movie, obviously. But, this is a micro-budget movie, and I've seen some micro-budget movies before, so I can kind of say how this stacks up in comparison. For those of you wondering, you can get this movie on Amazon Prime. Let me just go through what this movie is about, because it's a pretty interesting premise. It's about a hip-hop artist, and the hip-hop artist is struggling with some grief, and it's interfering with his productivity. He's losing inspiration. He has tough time dealing with that grief. And he gets these visions of a panda, and the panda is basically like his imaginary friend. And it's basically him going on the road, stumbling on the road, and meeting people that end up becoming his muse. So that's what the movie is about. Did I like this movie? Yes, I did. This was a good movie. Now, like I said before, I tailored my expectations. I'm watching a micro-budget film. I'm reviewing this movie as if it's a micro-budget film, and I'm comparing it to other movies in that weight class. Let's go through the things I like. First of all, that premise is pretty gold. I like that premise. I like how it blended realism with surreal elements thrown into there as well. The filmmaker got really creative with that. At first glance, when I first saw what this movie was about, when the filmmaker, Evan Kidd is his name, by the way, when the filmmaker sent this screener to me, I was kind of expecting something like Frank. For those of you who don't know Frank, that's the movie with Michael Fassbender where he plays like a rock star with like a dome on his head. And this movie doesn't really play out like Frank. What it more reminded me of is something like an Inside Llewyn Davis, where you have this artist. In this film, it's a hip-hop artist, and in that film was a folk singer. And he stumbles his way through a couple of scenarios, and those scenarios end up leading to his inspiration. So that's the movie it kind of reminded me of, and it was really creatively done. For a micro-budget film, this film has a really good pace to it. Usually when you watch these micro-budget films, it's like it's stalling, the characters are like staring at one another blankly, you kind of just like, okay, let's get the pace going. This movie has a pretty good pace, and a lot of that is because of the editing. Now the director, since this is a micro-budget film, did most of the work. He produced, directed, edited, cinematography, all done by the same person, and I think his strength here is his editing. A lot of times the editing was done in order to be the punchline of a joke. He would use his editing for comedy, and that's something that's pretty hard to pull off. Although the editing is good, the cinematography in this is pretty good as well for a micro-budget film. The performances in this were pretty good. The one that stood out to me was the guy who played the farmer or redneck. I don't know if that's a politically correct term nowadays, but the guy who played the redneck I thought was the best performance in this film, and the lead performance as well was very solid. Usually when you watch these kind of movies, directors are casting their friends, their family, people in the town, so sometimes the acting is not really good, and that's not the case in here. There are a few performances where you can kind of tell, yeah, that person's never tried acting before, and you can kind of point it out, but it's never to the point where it's distracting. So I thought acting, editing, cinematography, very good in this film. The problems, no, I'm gonna go into the problems I had with this movie, but I want you guys to remember this is not a bad film by any means. So a few problems I had with the movie. First problem is a quick fix. Turn down the volume of the music, because it nearly blew up my TV. I had the TV at a certain level, and all of a sudden music would start playing, and boom! Oh boy! But that's a quick fix. That's not like too big a problem. The main thing if I met this director, if I like had a beer with this director, and he said, "Paul, you fucking schlub," Paul, you schlub, what would you do? What piece of advice would you give to me so I can improve as a filmmaker? First of all, I'd say go to someone else, because I'm not qualified to give such advice. Look, I'm not the smartest guy out there. The other day I put a cucumber in the oven. I thought it would be a good idea. It's not. Don't try it. But anyway, if this guy asked me for advice, the one thing I would tell him to work on is how he directs actors. And that's actually the hardest part of filmmaking, is interacting with the actors and telling them how to act. For those of you who don't know, you can't just tell an actor, do it like this, do it like that, because it's like a little offensive to them, I guess. But in this film, I noticed the actor, especially the lead actor, because he gets a lot of screen time in this, would resort to a lot of the same gestures. One of those gestures is him looking at the sky and slouching, stuff like that. That's not as much a problem on the actor's end, but more so a problem on the directing end. What's happening is like probably the director is saying, do it like this, you're sad now, you're angry now, yada yada yada. And because of that, the actor is resorting to the same tools as he's done before. So what you want to do as a director is you want to like strip him away from what he's comfortable with. Take those things he always resorts to and put them back, and you want to give him advice like, you're thinking like this, you're thinking like that, what is your character thinking now? And you want to more interact with the actor, you know? So that way he's not constantly repeating the same motions. Yeah, so overall, good acting, good editing, good cinematography. Some parts with the dialogue weren't quite there as well. Like, an example, one thing you can do also is just cut some dialogue out of these. So, like, an example is a customer will arrive at the counter of a store, and the clerk will say, "Hold on, I have a customer." You can cut that line out. Just, like, have her do, like, a head movement, like, "I gotta go there," and she goes there. I was actually really surprised by this movie, because I was expecting it, I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting it to be a little bad. Because it's a micro-budget movie, it's $500, but, not only is this an actual okay, good movie, it's actually pretty inspirational. Whenever a director has the balls to make a movie like that, at such a low budget, and not only have the balls to make a movie, but the balls to like send a YouTuber, quote unquote, a YouTuber, a fucking screener, and say, "Hey, can you review this for me?" Takes quite a big ball sack to do such a thing. So kudos to the director, kudos to the cast and crew. Good job, guys, and please keep making film, and I'll be here to watch them.